We're doing a impromptu live. I wanted to just come on and say a few things, provide some context for some of the things that we're building, and try to give you the why behind it. We're actively involved on Substack, and one of the things that is a repeated conversation is how do you change power? How do you change who's in power? You know, how do you change the underlying systems? And I wanted to just have a really practical discussion about kind of the nuts and bolts of like what has made the tech barons essentially that are now ruling our society is like, what is it? Like, what is it that they have built? And how can you build something that competes with it, right? Because that's fundamentally what you have to do in order to change power structures. And so in plain English, what is it that makes like someone like Mark Zuckerberg, why is he so powerful? Why do these tech billionaires control so much of modern life? And there's this perception that it's magic, and it's not. That these people are geniuses who have built something beyond comprehension. um those things are not true. When you go down to the basics, what is it that these Silicon Valley people, what is it that their empires rest on? And it's actually surprisingly simple. It's really three things: databases, repositories, and code. And so I trained as a physician, but I trained alongside these people. I trained at MIT. I was there for over a decade, right? So I sat in classrooms with the same engineers that are now some of the richest people in the world. Um, and so the difference between the people holding power and everyone else isn't intelligence; it is digital infrastructure. And the rest of us are renting space on their digital infrastructure. And until we change that, the power is going to continue to concentrate in their hands. And so this is going to be quick, and this is going to be very practical, but what do I mean by digital infrastructure? So the first thing is a database. You could think of a database as a digital filing cabinet. But instead of paper, it holds relationships, identities, histories. So when you use Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, every single like, every single comment, every single message, every single phone number, every piece of information that you put into those applications right here on Substack, this live stream that we're doing now, that goes into their filing cabinet, and that it becomes theirs. What's a repository? Most people are like, repository, like what they like don't like, that's not a word that is in most people's lexicon, right? And why would it be, right? But all a repository is a digital vault. That is where the instructions, the blueprints, the assets are stored and tracked. It's kind of their master library. It holds source files, it holds the history of every change ever made to a piece of code and the rules that, how like a electronic system operates. So when a company owns a repository, they own the blueprint of that digital house. And the last thing is code. What is code? All code is a set of rules that tell the database how to move information. It says, if this person posts a video, show it to 100 people. Or if this person talks about something we don't like, we suppress it, right? That's the code. The code it tells the program how to run. It tells them to show your picture when someone clicks on it. But it's fundamentally very, very simple. And so when you combine these 3 things, when you combine a repository, when you combine a database, and you combine code, that is digital infrastructure. That is what has built these fortunes. And the problem that we all have today is that every movement, every independent thinker, every doctor, every journalist, every person, every creator is renting that space. We have to rent it from some of the most unscrupulous people um, that have thought nothing about giving back to society. Um, so when you build an audience of, 100,000 people on Instagram or Substack, you don't own that list, right? Facebook owns that list. Substack owns that repository. They let you use their land for free until they decide it has a cost, right? And that cost is a lot of things. We've paid a lot for borrowing this land. You know, we have paid with our attention. We have paid with our mental health. Um, we have paid with our money, right? Um, the great majority of us, all the stuff that we're generating, it's a it's an elaborate pyramid scheme essentially. We do work, they make money. Um, it is a system that runs on our labor. And so in order to change the system or to compete with it, you have to understand it. And that's why we have, I'm a physician. I take care of women. Like I deliver babies, right? But we have invested a lot of attention and time to try to understand what is it that, like, fundamentally, take away all the bells and whistles. What is it that builds power, right? Because if we want to do some of the things that we want to do, which is help women live happier, healthier, more fulfilling lives, well, we need to understand that because we can't do it otherwise. And that's one of the things that I have been trying to say here, um, repeatedly, is that if we do not have the infrastructure, if we do not build that infrastructure, everything else depends on that, right? Growing everything else depends on that. And so what we have started creating is that same digital infrastructure, but instead of Facebook owning it or Substack owning it, we own it, right? And so again, what is that practically? It's repositories, it is databases, it is code. Because you can't create lasting change in women's health, in medicine, or society if you have to always ask Mark Zuckerberg's algorithm for permission to reach your own community, right? If you always have to do a song and a dance and, do things that are, time consuming and draining and aren't fulfilling, don't build anyone up, right? Because that is what they have decided the rest of us need to do in order to participate in the modern world. And that is a decision that we have all made by allowing them to continue to do that. And we don't have to make that same decision. And so that's kind of what I wanted to come in and just tell people, is that we can make a different decision. And if we really want to see the world look different, we have to take our most precious commodity that we have, which is our attention. It's our time, right? Like that's the thing that you can't get back. It's the thing that we all only have finite amount of, and we have to take it, and we have to take it other places, and we have to do it in numbers. That's the only way, right? Because everything else depends on it. Every other subsequent step depends on it. That's why I'm here as a physician, you know, uh, building, I spend half of my time learning how to code, right? Learning how to do SQL. Like, there are things that I never thought that I would have to learn, right? But when you start, like, peeling back the onion and start to try to understand, "Okay, so what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step?" You start to realize what is at the ground level, and until we are not renting just the ability to talk to people, right? Until we're not asking Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, "Can I talk to these?" Because that's what we're having to do, right? We have to ask them permission. Can I deliver a message? And if I don't deliver it in the way that you like, and the way that serves you, and the way that helps you, the often is no, you can't. And that is bullshit. That's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. And so I'm having, like, a rough day today. I don't know. I had a meeting that was just very sobering because 'cause I'm seeing what's happening. It just, all these institutions are just collapsing, and, um, it is, you know, practically as someone who's trying to build something, it just there are much bigger tragedies out there, so I'm not looking for sympathy or any of that, but it's just it's hard. It's hard to see that, to see good people, um, to see good work just collapse and feel very powerless to stop it, to help, Um, and so that's all I wanted to say. When you support our work, you're not buying a product or subscribing even to a newsletter. You're not even really just backing a women's health company, right? We're trying to create new infrastructure. We're trying to learn how to do it at scale. So sign up. The account is free. Go to the Labor Collective, sign up. Tell me if something breaks because it's real. This is really ours. And so if you see something that doesn't make any sense, that doesn't look right, like, tell me. Send me an email. Send me a message. But this is how you start. We have to start somewhere. And I don't know if it's going to be successful, but I know that we just can't do nothing. We can't just sit here and do nothing and be upset and just feel sorry for ourselves. We have to do what we can to try to regain control because we do not want to live in a world where these few men, are controlling every single one of us. That is not the world that we want to live in. Anyways, that's all I had to say. Thank you to everyone who kind of hopped in. We'll be doing something a little bit later. I'm doing a live with Jackie, continuing our series. But I wanted to just, just explain to people what this is, because I think sometimes it looks like magic and they want you to think that they're more brilliant than they really are. That's not the case. There are really practical fundamentals. And the problem is we all should be taught that language, right? The programming is a language like anything else. There's no reason that more people don't know how to do it. It's something that we all should be taught. And it's very powerful, right? You can see the evidence of its power around you, but it's not it's not something unattainable. It's something we all can learn and be a part of, and we all need to, right? Because we all need to be able to get our voices out there, and we should not have to beg people who have given very little back to society. I mean, that I think is there have always been rich men and powerful men, but this particular wave is just it is really despicable. I don't know. I just feel like they could be doing so much more, and they choose not to. And for what? This money isn't even real. This is all unrealized gains. I think this is the thing that, like, breaks my brain. They're doing this to compete with each other, right? Because the rest of us have, like, we're not even in the conversation, right? There's like 10 men in a room competing with each other off of unrealized gains, off of magical money in a computer that, like, they will never be able to spend in so many lifetimes. and people are dying because of it. And that is like the absolute tragedy. People are dying today so they can compete with each other for nothing. And that is a sort of power that we need to break because that is, I'm sorry, that's insane. That is insane. These cannot be the people that rule the rest of us. Oh, sorry, my alarm. Oh, I didn't silence everything before I came on. All right, folks. Well, thank you everyone who joined. I'm gonna try to do more of these. It's just really hard. Like I'm in the middle of my workday, and I just stopped because I wanted to just say something. Um, but check it out. Check out the Labor Collective. Again, you can have a free account. This is real infrastructure. It is we are building it. Um, it is a space we want to start opening up to other people. But it takes a lot of work to do this, and so we need your help. Again, we don't have funders. We don't have, I'm not out here talking to investors. I get I get the messages all the time. But there's no reason to expect that if I build that same way, why would I have a different outcome? I won't, right? Um, in order to do something different, you have to actually do it differently. And so that's what we're trying. And again, I tell people all the time, I don't know if this will work. Like this is like real. This is a hypothesis I have put out there that you if people support something, if you're responsible to the public, if you are responsible to your own community, then the community itself will help keep you honest, help protect you from yourself, help make sure that you continue to meet their needs, right? People at the end of the day, everything in life is about incentives, right? If you are incentivized to do things by people who are unscrupulous, well, then you will be unscrupulous, right? But if you create incentives that are aligned with your morals, that is the way of keeping systems honest. And that's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to build something that has incentives aligned with what we actually want to see happen because you know, companies grow. The people once you have success, you get a board, and there's many people at the table, and when there's money involved, that often is corrupting, right? And so, how do you prevent that? Well, you have to do it from the beginning. You can't do it when there's $1 billion on the table. You have to set it up from uh, from the bones of the organization so that it grows with that alignment, not something that you're retrofitting on. And so we're trying to do that. We're not the only ones. We're working with other people. We have people who have been greatly supportive. But if you want to see what that looks like, and if you have the capabilities, please help us. Even subscribing as a free member, well, that is helpful, right? Um, every little bit counts. Again, like the most important thing that you have, the most valuable thing that you have is your attention and your time. So I thank you to everyone who's here, because this means something. It is valuable, and so thank you. All right. I hope everyone has a great day. Bye.